All right, before we get into the games this week, because again, there's only two of them, we did want to get caught up on some of the goings-ons in the NFL, especially locally. Kind of big news, if you want to call it that. Josh McDaniels coming back to the Patriots. Again, I defer to you as the resident quasi-Patriots fan here. What do you think of this? Because I have some opinions.
So it makes sense. It's probably the right hire. I think you look at Josh McDaniels' body of work as an offensive coordinator, not just the Brady years, but more. I think what's more applicable is the Mac Jones year and in the even Cam Newton to an extent. So like, it makes sense for various reasons, but there's also a part of me that can't help but feel underwhelmed by all of this. Like it goes back to what we were talking about with Mike Vrabel last week too, where like I get it, right? Like they're at a point where I guess you just need an adult in a room, and at least there's a structure to this organization right now that didn't exist a few months ago. Like it's pretty clear who's in charge. It's pretty clear who's working underneath him. So like all of that is a net positive, but there is part of me that's just like, it's kind of just, it's boring. It's underwhelming. And I wish that this organization, in order to take the next step and just become something completely different than what it was for 20 plus years, would just go completely external and have no ties to the past and just fresh start. But I acknowledge that I wasn't getting that, so it's whatever.
He's a good NFL offensive coordinator, a very good one. So like it's hard to.
One other positive about him is that like he's not a flight risk, I guess, at this point. If his career, like I don't think he's going to be getting a head coaching opportunity anytime soon.
Still getting paid by the Raiders.
So you have at least that continuity. It's like you can.
That's fair.
Him and Drake May together. You're moving forward. Let's do the thing.
I mean, maybe until that's not the case. Like it is possible they come out and light the world on fire all of a sudden. The NFL is a dumb place sometimes.
True.
So, but I typically
or he
agree.
takes over from Mike Vrabel in a couple years.
There's that too. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like again, it's hard to. It's the same thing with Vrabel, right? Like the track record, especially in the specific responsibility and position, is good. So you can't be like, what are they doing? It's just it lacks creativity. It lacks a willingness to get uncomfortable.
I was gonna say it's a comfortable decision at a time when I want them to be uncomfortable.
Sure, yeah. You would think, like, the last 5 years have been signs that, like, without the quarterback, we maybe should rethink some of this stuff.
Yeah. And I know that's weird to say because like this whole season was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But like
right, I was gonna
that
say,
wasn't by design.
Yeah.
Like the Gerard Mayo hiring was what they deemed to be comfortable because it was one of their guys.
And if I were to guess too, they see Drake May and are like, we have the next, not like the next Brady, but we have the guys, so we can run back some of the stuff that we did that was so successful when we had the guy the first time. I'd be very curious to know who made this decision, because like I don't think if Vrabel had gone to the Jets or if Vrabel had gone to the Bears, Josh McDaniels would be going with him to be his offensive coordinator. And so, like, if ownership
you see that
is
being an issue at some point, Vrabel and McDaniels,
they seem
two personalities.
So, like, the dude that they hired for the defensive coordinator, like, kind of a lifer type of deal, like, who Vrabel knows he can work well with, that makes all the sense in the world. I forget his name already. That's my fault. But, like, which is kind of the point. Like, you want him to bring in his guys that maybe if they aren't totally well known. But it's going to be hard for me to say that this was a bad move if in week 7 they have the 12th best offense in the league and, Drake May is taking massive, maybe not even massive steps, but like looks better. Like it's going to plan. It's hard to criticize that. I just think this mindset is probably counterproductive in the long run, whether that rears itself in 2025 beyond, whether it seeps into some other decision-making process with the draft or roster building. I just think they could use this could have been the time for them to step back and reassess some things. And like going back to like a guy you're really familiar with, lives in the area, like
it feels like they were put more emphasis on raising the floor than raising the ceiling. Like they're just like,
which like is kind of fair, but what, are you a floor team or are you a ceiling team? Like it used to be the ceiling here.
I think it's where that makes me uncomfortable is that like you have somebody with the talent of Drake May, and I'm like,
sure, yeah,
are
right.
you going to your point, like get the most out of this guy with this current
I
setup?
think they're petrified of going 4-13 again, right?
Yeah.
Like
or breaking him.
Yeah,
like I think they're like,
too.
well, this could like we have a guy. This setup is going to allow him to be a formidable NFL quarterback, but it's like
we'd rather go 10-7 for the next 3 years.
The flip side of that, I'm like, is it going to prevent him from becoming one of the top 5 quarterbacks?
Sure,
I think it could.
Sure, yeah, I think they're going to be a lot better next year, though. Like I think we're gonna look back next year and be like, coaching really matters in the NFL, which I think is kind of obvious, but like. They're in such a better spot now than they were last year.
Well, I mean, you look at how many of their problems from this past year. Like the talent's still giving me an issue. That's why they're going to lose next year. The talent,
but they're going to get
this
more
year.
Out
They
of the
lost because
they
of the talent and all the other stuff.
I will say too, if Vrabel has considerable sway over roster building, which I guess is what's been reported, but if he can't even pick his own offensive coordinator, I do question that reporting. Like. If he has sway over the roster, he's going to force them to break out of that thinking where he's going to bring in guys that he knows from Tennessee or Cleveland or wherever. And I think that'll help. But, yeah, I don't know.